Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottanen from the Flourish.Academy. This is episode 202, and again today we are talking about the Profoto A1. I shot my final wedding of the season this past Saturday, and I had my first issue with the light. But let me back up and say one thing about the battery life of this thing is blowing my mind. This was a barn wedding. Now, the reception was in a barn. The ceremony reception were in one location. Ceremony was outside, which means I did not use the light there. And then I used the light for the entire reception. And when I was leaving the wedding, I made a mental note of the battery life left. And right now it's showing half, but as I was leaving the wedding, it was about 2/3 full. And I used it, boom, boom, boom. I mean, I was firing shots like crazy for hours, and it was still 2/3 full. Good morning, Charlie. So I want to talk about the performance of the battery, which is really been exceeding my expectations, because, you know, when I first talked about it, I was concerned, could I get through an entire wedding with just this one battery? And so far I have. So that is good. I was very impressed. But I was at the reception. I had photographed the entrances, the bride and groom's first dance, cake cutting, then it was dinner time, and then we moved on to the parent dances. So I photographed the father-daughter with no problem. I was about halfway through the mother-son dance, and this was the combination I was using. And this is typically what I will shoot at a reception, is my 24-70 on my D750. Now, prior to the Profoto A1, I was using an SB900 on camera and two 580EXs off camera. That's how I like my receptions. But since I've been testing this light, I've been trying to see, could I do it with one light? How does it look? What is the quality? What if it were on versus off camera? All of those things, great. Okay, photographing the groom and his mom. And I'm happy. You know, what are these songs? Maybe 2 or 3 minutes long? I have several photos that I'm already happy with. I take a photo and the light doesn't fire. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Now, this is kind of funny because in yesterday's video, Leanne was talking about troubleshooting and being able to react very, very quickly if you're a wedding photographer. And I tend to react quickly in any emergent situation. If you have an emergency, you probably would want me there because I just act. I'm very decisive and I move very quickly. That doesn't mean I'm not freaking out on some level, like what the heck, but I'm able to make decisions very quickly. So I fire like 2 shots, the light does not fire. I think, okay, troubleshooting 101. I turn everything off. Everything gets turned off. I remount the lens and I pop out the battery and put it back in. If you're ever having a strange issue that pops out of nowhere, you should always try that first. So complete shutdown and then back up. Fired a shot, still not shooting. Okay, troubleshooting step number 2. I have my Nikon SB900 very close to me because I always have backups for my backups in case something like this happens. So I just walk a couple feet over and I switch this out. I take it off of the camera. I put my SB900 on. I go to shoot. It doesn't fire. All right. Well, Troubleshooting Basics tell me that if this didn't fire and the SB900 didn't fire, then it's not the light, it's the camera, right? That should tell you that. It's kind of like if you're having problems with a lens or a camera, you're not sure which, then you switch it out. You switch out lenses. Does it work with this lens or that lens? And so you can start to narrow down pretty quickly where the problem is. Well, okay, because the SB900 is not firing, then I know it's something I have done. Or is there something wrong with my hot shoe, or what's happening with the camera? So I figure I'm going to put this light back on and troubleshoot the camera, because now I've determined it's not the light. I put this one back on and I'm looking around for a second. Now, thankfully, I had enough shots of the groom dancing with his mom that if I didn't get the rest of the dance, it was okay. But what I determined I had done was on the side of the D750, you see the flash button? If you press that flash button and hold it, you will get this on the back of your screen. And if you move your back command dial this way, do you see what happened? Do you see that? Lightning bolt with a line through it? Yeah, that means the flash is off. I told the camera not to fire the light, except I didn't know I told the camera that. I must have somehow, I'm not even really sure how, to tell you the truth, because it would take 2 movements. I hit that button and my back command dial at just the right time, and the flash was off. Flash mode off. Well, that's a clue. So I put the flash back to on and the Profoto A1 started firing immediately. So if your gear is not working, do not rush to judgment and blame the gear. And by the way, I did not think that there was something wrong with the Profoto A1. I just wasn't sure what was happening, which is why I tried the SB900 and then back to this. It was absolutely user error. So who's the idiot? Oh, that would be me. Yeah, of course. But all of this happened within the span of 30 to 60 seconds. That's how quickly I was able to troubleshoot that. And again, Leanne had spoken about this yesterday. With years of experience comes the ability to make these things happen very, very quickly. Because if you're a wedding photographer and that's a crucial moment, and by the way, it was, I already had the photos, and in Leanne's moment, it was absolutely a crucial moment. It was the processional, and she figured it out very quickly. You have to be able to think on your toes. You have to have backup gear within reachable distance so that you can make things happen. And if you're not able to do this, then wedding photography might not be for you yet. It just takes time to develop those skills and to be able to think on your feet if something stops focusing. By the way, I've had that happen as well, where I'm taking photos and all of a sudden it stops focusing and I have bumped this. Talked about this switch before. I hate it. I wish it had a lock on it. I have bumped this from AF autofocus to manual, but the problem is when I bumped it, see, you can see when it goes to manual, but the time that I bumped it ever so slightly, so it was like that. So I hadn't clicked it full into manual, but it was not in autofocus anymore and it wasn't working. So then I clicked it back and it was fine, but I was able to determine that very, very quickly. That's time and experience. I think you learn about these things and you figure out what works and what doesn't and how to troubleshoot. But troubleshooting 101 is to turn everything off, remount the lens, pop the battery, put it back in, and see if that fixes your problem. If it does, it could have just been some kind of weird thing. But if it doesn't, did you accidentally hit something? Check all of your settings. Get really familiar with all of the buttons and icons. Know which ones you accidentally switch. We were talking about the lenses last week and how we accidentally bump those. So you could look at the side of your camera and think, is it possible for me to accidentally bump that? I spoke maybe 3 or 4 videos ago about people who accidentally had bracketing turned on because they pressed this button and used their command dial and didn't realize it, and then their exposures were all over the place. So I think getting familiar with your camera obviously is essential to being a good photographer. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.